Hello. In this video, we will understand what is DNS and how exactly it works in the backend. So in simple words, DNS is a domain name system, which basically converts human readable domain names into machine readable IP addresses. So for example, when we type a domain in the browser like google.com, so the DNS server locate the corresponding IP address for the domain. Then our computer will connect to the server where the website is hosted to display that website in the browser. Now let's understand how exactly it works in the backend. I have got this very simple flowchart for easy understanding of how DNS exactly works in the backend. So let's try to understand with the help of this very simple flowchart. Say for example, the user enters google.com in the browser. Obviously, the browser gets installed in a computer which will have browser level caching, also operating system level caching, right? So it will try to find the IP address locally. If it finds, the website will be displayed. If not, the recursive resolver comes into the picture. So these are generally provided by our internet service provider or public DNS like Google DNS 8.8.8.8 or Cloudflare DNS 1.1.1.1 or OpenDNS, something like that. So this will does everything for us in terms of finding the IP address. If it finds IP address, well and good. If not, then root DNS servers comes into the picture. So there are 13 root DNS servers that are distributed across the globe. This will not contain domain level information. In case of google.com, it will not contain google.com information, but it will contain TLD server information. For example, in terms of google.com, what it says, hey, go and ask .com server. So the request comes here. The top level domain TLS server contains the top level domain information. In terms of google.com, it will contain all info about google.com, but it will not contain the IP address. So what it does is, this will say go and ask google.com. So this google.com, what it does, uh, the authoritative DNS. So this authoritative DNS generally contains record level information. Like we have several records, A record or 4A's record, A record, MX record, NS record, TXT record, something like that. So obviously the A record or CNAME record or 4A's record will have the endpoint for the of the server where the website is hosted. So in this case, the final IP address will be resolved, and once the IP address is resolved from this authoritative DNS, the request will connect to the server where the website is hosted. Once it gets the information from the server, the website will be displayed in the browser. So that is how exactly DNS works in the backend. All right. As I mentioned, there are few records, right? A record, which signifies IPv for IP address, and there are a few other records like AAAA that signifies IPv6 IP address, and there is one more record called MX record. Uh, this is generally used for mailing purpose, our mail server. So we generally have our organizational emails followed with at the rate our organization name.com, something like that, right? So in that case, we use this mail servers, and we have one more record called cname, which is nothing but an alias name or canonical name. And we have txt record or name servers. In terms of txt records, it generally used for the domain verification purpose or dkim or spf. And there is one more record called ptr record. So ptr is generally used for reverse lookup, and there are other types of records also there. Now let's try to understand how DNS works with the help of some sample networking commands. Okay, NS lookup on the domain google.com, and let's try to understand the output. So we have server address, name, address. So this server and address are something like these are the IP addresses of our DNS, and this is our domain on which we use this NS lookup, and this is the IP address of our this domain. So NS lookup will show the IP address of the domain, and similar to that we have one more command called dig. So these are basically network troubleshooting commands which generally used by the networking engineers for troubleshooting purpose. So let's use dig with same google.com, and as you can see, it contains the question part, answer part, queries, and additional section as well. So the question part generally contains like what we asked for. The question is on google.com, and the answer part will contain IP address. And we also have the authority section, which name servers are authoritative for the domain, um, right? And let's try to use same dig command on a particular record, for example a. So it will return the record type and IPv4 IP address, all these things. So similarly we can use different records as well, whatever we want, so it will return the respective information. And so this is mail server, Google's mail server, I would say. And apart from that, like we also have some other commands, um, reverse lookup in terms of google.com. This is our Google's DNS server, so if we use this one, um, google.com, so it will return the IP address. And as I mentioned, reverse lookup PTR record. So we can also use this dig command with -x on Google's DNS. There you go. So that's how it generally works. That's all for this demo. Thanks for watching.